Well, it's official, folks. Apu Nahasapina Pemelon is going to be removed from The Simpsons, all thanks to this guy. You know, I feel like I'm having a bad dream. I'm stuck in a world where people are so offended by cartoon characters that they end up getting removed from television shows. Except it's not a dream. It's reality. Now, I've addressed this topic before. Mostly, I addressed The Simpsons addressing the issue. And as you can imagine, as a Simpsons fan, I didn't take very kindly to it. Because Apu has been one of the most complex supporting characters in the show for many years. And now all of a sudden, he's offensive and racist? Apu of all people? So when I first heard the news about this yesterday, of course, I wasn't a very happy camper. But I wanted to give this Harvey Kondabalu guy the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to vilify anybody, especially if they have good intentions, which he probably did. So I went ahead and watched his documentary, The Problem with Apu. Nope. Still not convinced. First of all, Hari is really obsessed with race in this documentary. He's mentioned he's friends with several famous white dudes. He hammers in the fact that Apu is voiced by a white guy constantly. And he even shows a clip in the documentary of him first calling out the character, saying that if he ever saw Hank Azaria doing that voice at a party, he would kick his ass. And then he even mentions the creation of Apu when Hank Azaria first did the voice and made a bunch of white writers laugh. What is your obsession with race, Hari? You know, for somebody who's wanting better representation of Indian people, you sure love picking on white people. Oh, that's nice. It's not like that's hypocritical or anything. And another thing that frustrates me is in the documentary, he acknowledges that the point of Apu's character is being a satirical look at the struggles of immigrants in America. How can you admit to the point of the character and still see him as a stereotype? And a big target of his criticisms is the fact that Apu has an accent. Yeah, 'cause, you know, a culture as rich and historic as India has no accents, am I right?
Take a guess, what percentage of Indian population can speak fluent English?
Maybe 40% maybe. If you go into any colleges or school, no one speaks Hindi at all. It's everything related to English itself. So I think that 70 to 80% might know English.
English is, I think, far more important than Hindi right now for Indians. So yeah, I think 40 to 45% around people speak fluent English.
I guess around 75% of Indian people can speak English fluently. Most of them are from South India because they are they are much more educated than the people living in North India. So that's my opinion, and I am myself a South Indian, so it has nothing got any problem with Indian people as such, because that is the way we talk.
Right? And then there's the point he's interviewing a bunch of Indian American writers and actors. Here's the issue I have, though. A lot of these Indian actors and writers that he interviews have American accents. Why? Because they were born in America. Of course you don't get accents based on your race. You get accents based on where you grow up. A black guy from Jamaica is not going to sound the same as a black guy from America. Hell, a black guy from Boston might not sound the same as a black guy from New Orleans. And hell, how many white people have accents? Minnesota? Brooklyn? New Jersey? Texan? See where I'm getting at here? Yes, Hari, whether you want to admit it or not, people from different regions have accents. That's how regional dialect works. And The Simpsons were never making fun of his voice. It's just the voice the character happens to have, which, I'm sorry to admit, is an Indian accent. So what's the big deal here? So when he's interviewing these Indian writers and actors, one of them has the nerve to say, The Simpsons stereotype everybody, but the problem is, Indians didn't have any representation in this country. So, when The Simpsons lampoons every other race and region out there, that's okay. But because they had an Indian character in their show who had a voice you didn't like and had some stereotypes of being an Indian American as part of his character, that bothered you? And they also like to describe Apu as servile, devious, goofy, can't speak English? What? And an idiot. Where do I even begin? He's servile. He owns a convenience store. How do you expect him to act? And by the way, have you ever seen any episodes when he's not working at the convenience store? He can be pretty in your face and controlling when he wants to be. He doesn't take crap from anybody. So, really? Devious. Well, yeah. Every Simpsons character has their own flaws. Homer's a moron, Bart's mischievous, Marge is overprotective, Mr. Burns is evil, Flanders is overly Christian. Need I go on? I don't see how Pooh is selling outdated food as devious. It's just one of the flaws that makes him an interesting character. He has layers. He's not just a happy-go-lucky convenience store owner. He's a complex character. Devious? Really? Goofy. This is one I don't understand. You know this is the Simpsons we're talking about, right? He's a cartoon character. He's supposed to be goofy in a way. That's kind of the point of a cartoon character, you know? Can't speak English. What? Do I even need to address that one? And an idiot. Yeah, sure. One of the smartest characters in the whole show is an idiot to you. Are we watching the same show here? There's even a part in the documentary where Hari interviews his own parents, and they themselves say they're not bothered by the character. See, Hari, your own parents aren't bothered by the character. But that should show you that people who immigrate from India aren't bothered by an Indian immigrant character. Maybe you should take a little influence from that? Just a suggestion? And throughout the documentary, he constantly tries to imply that the Simpsons writers and Matt Groening himself are evil white men who are trying to make Indian people look bad. However, there's a point in the documentary where he plays an audio clip of Matt Groening saying that the name Apu comes from the famous Apu trilogy of Bollywood films. Matt Groening is a big fan of Bollywood movies. He loves Indian culture. I don't know about you, Hari, but I don't think racist white men are very educated in Indian cinema. Would you agree with me on that? So, why would a man who's very interested in Indian culture and loves Indian cinema make a character for the sheer purpose of offending Indian people? I don't think that was his intention, Hari. Call it a hunch. And he even has the nerve to compare Apu to blackface minstrels, and he also uses Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder as an example. Have you seen that movie, Hari? Robert Downey Jr. in blackface is one of the jokes of that movie. It's a parody of white actors whitewashing ethnic characters. I would like to walk a mile in your shoes, Hari, just so I could see the perception you have, because I clearly don't see the same things you do. Also, insultingly in the documentary, Hari sicks his own fans on Hank Azaria to badger him to be in this documentary. Was that harsh to say? Well, don't blame me, those were Hari's exact words! Hari, I don't know about you, but asking your fans to go on a witch hunt of somebody who's not doing anything wrong doesn't really make you look good, does it? One of the few people in the documentary who defends The Simpsons is former writer Dana Gould, who doesn't really pick sides because he acknowledges that The Simpsons makes fun of everybody. And when he's asked about Hank Azaria voicing Apu, Hari asks him if he thinks that's a good thing or a bad thing, and Dana just replies, "It's a thing." Dana was really professional and took the middle ground. He wasn't outright defending The Simpsons, but he wasn't outright attacking it either. He just gave his experience working on the show and tried to show Hari that all the people behind it are humans just like him. I compliment him for that. And then throughout the documentary, Hari is trying to get Hank Azaria to be in the movie. But in the end, Hank sends him an email saying that he's fascinated by the idea of the documentary. But in the end, he didn't want to be in it because he didn't know how he would be portrayed in the documentary. Nor did he trust the editor of the documentary to make him look good. And I think that's a pretty respectable way to address the topic. But Harvey had the nerve to say, "Isn't that great that he gets to choose how he'll be portrayed by other people?" Hari, why? And obviously Hank didn't get to choose how he'll be portrayed because you spent practically most of the documentary bad-mouthing the guy and making an out-of-context clip of him at a college doing a speech and just picked the exact moment he did Apu's voice to make it look like he does that voice all the time to make fun of Indian people. Which, if you actually bothered to watch the whole clip, he does all of the characters he voices in The Simpsons, not just Apu. Good on you, Hari. Who would have known? A guy making a documentary about a cartoon character misrepresenting his whole race went out of his way to make a voice actor look bad just because he does funny cartoon voices. How very non-hypocritical of you. But I think the worst thing that Hari says, the biggest slap in the face, no, that's not strong enough to describe my metaphor, the biggest kick in the dick to Simpsons fans and everybody who loves Apu, is when Hari claims that we only love him because of his accent. He claims that Apu is nothing more than a funny accent. Hari, I can't speak for every Simpsons fan out there, but Apu isn't just a funny accent to me. He's a great character. A man who represents the struggles that immigrants go to when coming to America. A man who's beloved in his community, despite the fact that he's of a different ethnicity. A man who openly embraces his culture while adapting to American culture. A man who bangs all the women he wants because they love him, not because of his accent. A man who takes care of 8 children and takes care of his wife as well. Even if there was that one episode he cheated on her, but they got back together in the end, so it's all good. A man who represents the American dream, that anybody from all walks of life can come over here, start their own business, and be successful, and in a lot of cases, be better off than they would have been if they stayed where they came from. That's Apu in the show. He's not just an Indian stereotype like Dana Carvey from Master of Disguise, and he means a lot more to me than you might think he does. You see, Hari, I grew up in central Illinois, not a very diverse part of the country. A lot of white people, some black people, and a handful of Mexicans. A lot of times, that's mostly it. Heck, even I went to a mostly white school that had at most 3 black people. So yes, I didn't grow up around very much diversity, but I had The Simpsons. And when I first saw Apu in The Simpsons, I thought he was black, but then it turns out he was Indian. Now at this time, the only other Indian I heard of was Native Americans. I had no idea there was a country called India, with 1 billion people live there, and a rich history and culture. I had no idea. Apu introduced me to Indian culture. That's right, this racial stereotype that apparently white people only like because he has a funny voice taught this white redneck from central Illinois about your culture. I learned about Hinduism, and I learned about cows being sacred in India. And it was Apu's influence that taught me to look up stuff like the Kama Sutra, Bollywood, Indian music, and all the other great stuff about your country. Say what you want about Apu's accent, Hari, but guess what it also taught me? It taught me tolerance. It taught me that people are going to have accents, and I shouldn't laugh at their accents, because accents are a part of who they are. It's a part of their culture. When I hear somebody's accent, it's not in my instinct to laugh at them. It's an indicator that they come from somewhere that I'm not. And it inspires me to learn more about where they come from. Because I don't know about you, but cultures and accents are pretty awesome. So, Hari, I like to think you weren't a bad guy. If your intention of this documentary was to let people know that, hey, maybe something you think is funny and endearing is very offensive in my culture, I can understand that. I wouldn't agree, but I can understand that. But if your intention for this documentary was to go after an easy target, one of the most beloved cartoons of all time, just to project your own career and put you more in the spotlight and get your name out there more, then I can say I don't respect that at all. Because if you claim that your intention wasn't to remove Apu but to Americanize his accent, what does that say about how you feel about your own culture? Like I showed earlier in this video, Indian people do have accents, Hari. I don't want to look like I'm forcing you to think a certain way, but if I was from a certain culture, I wouldn't want somebody to whitewash my culture by taking away my accent and Americanizing myself. America isn't about people coming over here and whitening up for white people's sake. It's about bringing their culture here for us to see. Don't make Indian people hide their accents. Like I said, accents are awesome. We're all going to meet people with accents in our lifetimes if we step outside and actually interact with other people. So, why make that transition harder for us? Have characters in shows with thick accents. Not to make fun of, Well, you can make fun of them. That's what comedy's about, making fun of everybody. But at the same time, it can also be used as a learning tool. That's how I look at it. So, Hari, whether you like or hate Apu getting removed, in a way, you're to blame for this. And I gotta say, it takes a lot of balls to go after a character and show a lot of people love just to give it a popular opinion and talk about how a character made you feel. In this day and age, that is a pretty tall order. But at the same time, I don't like the results. I love Apu, and I love The Simpsons, and I don't think the show's going to feel the same without him. So somewhere down the line, Hari, if you want the character to be put back in the show, then I would highly encourage you to do that. Because getting him removed because you find him offensive, because let me tell you, that ain't going to fly well in today's 4chan-dominated society. If you guys haven't already, check out Hotdiggedydemon's video on this topic. He goes into a lot more detail than I did. Are you mad Apu's getting removed? Are you happy? Or are you somewhere in between? Let me know in the comments below. As always, stay loony, my toonies. And to pay more tribute to Indian culture, allow me to play a world-famous song from that world-famous Indian musician, Dr. Bombay. Wait, this guy is an Indian? He's Danish? Fuck!
Don't go messing with a country boy, a country boy, a country boy. Don't go messing with a country boy, don't mess with a country boy. When I was a little bitty boy, baby, I cut my teeth on a big old tree. Mama filled my bottle from my moonshine street.